Within debatable thoughts concerning how children differentiate between trust values and recognize how to doubt things they should avoid, literature broadly admits that children start developing a critical attitude when learning to know when and when not to doubt, and when not to trust. Now, childhood is a very critical period to study and assess trust behaviors since it is the period during which much is paid for children to follow and be successful in future life, education and good career through the safety of good trusted environment. Assessment of trust during such period will dictate what strategies and interventions must be followed to help children gain trust and confidence in themselves and what they do, as well as in the others around them. The term trust broadly refers to and expresses beliefs which convey information about the confidence and reliance of people on other people or things emotionally and otherwise. Trust is abstractly conceptualized but can be realized in behaviors and the expressions of its internal mental state that causes it to be observable in the form of overt behaviors, expressions, and actions. So, concerning trust definition in psychology. So in psychology, trust is believing that the person who is trusted will do what is expected. So it starts at the family and grows to others. According to psychoanalyst Erikson, development of basic trust is the first state of psychosocial development occurring or failing during the first 2 years of life. Erik Erikson, a Danish theorist famous for his work regarding stages of psychosocial development of human beings. According to him, there are 8 stages in human beings' development, and amongst the traits that get developed is trust. Accordingly, the first of these stages is trust versus mistrust, which Erikson named and developed as cited in Coate and Levine 2002. The assessment of trust is clearly obtained through verbal expression, which is the method or act of human communication, either in spoken or written form. So the term is especially used in reference to a person's style or manner of speaking or expressing one's self with words. Assessment is the evaluation or estimation of the quality, the nature or ability of someone or something. For example, among such is the assessment of educational needs to make judgment and do ratings or estimations. Psychological assessment is a process of testing that uses a combination of techniques to arrive at some hypotheses about a person and their behavior, personality, and capabilities. Psychological assessment is also referred to as psychological testing or performing a psychological battery on a person. Studies and tests were performed to assess trust in children in many contexts and showed that such behavior is subject to effects and fluctuations depending on such situations, which in turn shape child trust. So children are subject to misinformation. That is, it is necessary for them to master intricacies of doubt to develop consistent information and detect distortions, ignorance, incompetence, inaccuracy, etc. So according to Mills 2013, deception shapes children's reasoning about when to trust and when to doubt. So learning from these intricacies provide children with the ability to differentiate and to distinguish between trust values and so on. In the same line of thought, Tobin and Koenig 2013 stated that children use moral behavior to select trust through selective learning or behavior in ways consistent or inconsistent with the socio-moral norms, such as distinguishing good from bad and neutral. And the ideas are in fact very consistent with what we see in very common study findings that children trust is environmentally shaped, but yet is driven by learning factors. And since education and learning promote reasoning, trait reasoning plays crucial roles in young children's selective trust. Preschoolers choose selectively who and what to learn from, and preferably from accurate models. It is a matter of debate, though, according to Hermes, Bain, and Roccosi, 2015. Whether preschooler selective trust is based on global impression formation and the matching of past and future behavior, or on trait-based inferences, and whether the cognitive strategies used are similar in both positive and negative information processing. It is also suggests that trait reasoning plays a crucial role in children's selective social learning. Children's attentional exploration of threatening information also shows to be related to trust and mistrust. Concerning maternal attachment and child trust, for example, there is increasing interest in attachment related social information processing, including children's attentional processing of information regarding the attachment figure. According to Dujardin, Bosmans, Rayet, and Bryant 2015, a hypothesis was tested that this attentional focus toward mother occurs at the expense of attentional exploration of the environment. Thus, assessing trust in maternal support, it is suggested that in the presence of the mother, children with more secure attachment expectations can explore a threatening environment with more confidence. Children also acquire more accuracy and conventionality as guides towards evaluations of others' actions. Studies show that children trust reliable sources over unreliable ones, although it is not clear if children rely on conventionality or accuracy to determine their trustworthiness and the reliability of a source. It is suggested in Scofield, Gilpin, Perosi, and Morgan 2013 that when the accuracy and conventionality of a source are in conflict, children give preference to accuracy. A lifetime learning model is also a determinant of the broad socio-political trust development in children, following Sean and Cheng 2011. Besides family background, school motivation, and general cognitive ability. So trust is shaped by experiences and social institutions, as well as educational resources. Frequently used assessment instruments related to trust assessment include personality projective tests and assessment instruments. In Ewing's, Sutherland, and Wallace, the authors used natural faces pictures with different expression composites, either happy, angry, neutral, or blank, to produce stimulus in emotion and intensity to test how these cues influence trust behavior in children and adults. During this thematic perception test, individuals were asked to look at various pictures and were given time to analyze the pictures to understand their different aspects to investigate trust behavior. This test was conducted to understand the stimuli of children and adults to reveal different types of children emotions and to help understand their internal conflicts. The responses received from this test were analyzed by experts who presumed the analyses in a standard way that humans have conscious and unconscious motivation and attitudes that, according to the test, children show adult-like facial appearance biases when trusting other people. So controversies still exist concerning a general assessment definition of projective personality, psychological testing in relation to personal, cultural, and other contextual factors which destabilize such tests' reliability and validity, and how they are administered, scored, and rated. Lilienfeld, Wood, and Grubb 2000 viewed its scientific status as highly controversial as they reviewed the literature concerning its norms, validity, and utility of its major instruments like the Rorschach Inkelbrod test, thematic perception test, and human figure drawings. That although there is empirical support for the validity of some of the indices of Rorschach and TAT. Their considerable importance, value, degree, and amount are not empirically supported, as well as the validity evidence for human figure drawings is even more limited, and that projective indices have not consistently demonstrated validity when compared to psychometric data methods. Assessment analysis starts from literature views about child trust in varied contexts. So a survey questionnaire is better administered to collect oral or written verbally expressed data that an assessment or measurement is used as methodology is empirically based. The rationale for such assessment is a basic reason to explain the principles of opinions, beliefs, and practice that drive trust in children in relation to learning and education abilities as well as society in general. The assessment gains its importance from the fact that it also attempts to clarify how adults can obtain child trust when child trust intricacies are discovered. Accordingly, education and social learning in children influence their trust behaviors. Terms test and assessment are often used interchangeably as meaning nearly the same thing, but they actually mean something things which are different. A test is a product or a tool that measures particular behavior or sets of objectives, while assessment is seen as a procedure more than just product. Instead of product of a tool, it is a procedure. Assessment is used during and after the test instruction is taken or has already taken place. So, building a hypothetical psychological test. The trust verbal expression testing aims at measuring the construct of trust as a psychological state that cannot be directly tested or measured, since it is an abstract mental attitude which can be observed only in its verbal expressions, for example in speech or written forms, that can be assessed through direct observation. Such assessment can be used to establish a better trustworthy environment and relationship in children's lives. For example, in educational settings, amongst students and teachers, family settings amongst family members, clinical settings to improve treatment outcomes, and so on. As a test and assessment example, test takers for children trust assessment are children candidates in, for example, an educational setting to evaluate their grades and stress-related issues in relation to trust versus distrust assessment. Test statements would identify trust versus non-trust to assess the levels of trust by involving culture, ways of thinking, language, attitudes, techniques, ethics, and values of different genders, races, and ethnic backgrounds. Value on Cohen and Swerlik, 2018. The different cultures of the test candidates must be considered in many of its different aspects, and cultural issues and differences must be included in test decision making when handling test data, since cultural differences amongst candidates affect responses because of language, values, and cultural heritage influences. So test results can be used to assess then improve children achievement as affected by the lack of trust in their environments. During assessment, individuals are categorized to simplify intervention types and possibilities by considering cultural and ethical issues as well.